So welcome, folks. Again, good afternoon, good morning to those of you on the West Coast. My name is Adrian Ng. To those of you that don't already know me, I am the Senior Solutions Architect here at D&H, responsible for data center opportunities. I lead the Lenovo ISG practice here at D&H. ISG stands for Infrastructure Solutions Group, which is Lenovo's name for their data center line of business. So anything server, storage, or networking. My role here at D&H is to provide pre-sale support to all your data center opportunities. So anytime you have a question or an opportunity on server, storage, or networking, it will come across my desk, and I will help you from anywhere from deal registration to building configurations to hopping on calls with your customers to help figuring out what the requirements are, the whole 9 yards to getting you a quote for what your customer is looking for. Today, we're here to talk about, this is the D&H Lenovo ISG update for 2025 Q1. And we're going to talk about VMware alternatives and how Lenovo can help. In the last webinar in November, we talked a little bit about VMware and how we could use OneIQ to right size the VMware environment before considering moving off of VMware. To help manage your VMware licensing costs. And today we're going to talk about how Lenovo comes to the table with an entire portfolio of software-defined infrastructure offerings called Think Agile, and how that offers your customers choice from not just VMware. And then we'll pivot to a slight focus on Hyper-V and Azure Local, and how it's integrated to the aforementioned Think Agile line of MX series. We're focusing on Hyper-V and Azure Local today based on your feedback that most of your customers are already running Microsoft Windows Server and are already set up in the M365 and Azure ecosystem. If for some reason you find that this is inaccurate and you want to hear more instead about whatever, Red Hat, Nutanix, or something else altogether, please make sure you reach out to me and let me know what you want to hear about. These sessions are here for you. We're not accepting payment for airtime here. So the folks that I've invited on the call today are here because I've asked them to come to talk to you based on what you wanted to hear about. In terms of speakers today, or folks that are on the call, we got Lisa McWilliams, who's from Lenovo. She's our channel executive. She's going to help monitor the Q&A and answer any channel program questions. We have Pawan Misra, who's from Lenovo. He's the senior product manager, focused on software-defined infrastructure. And we also have Alan Kerr from Microsoft, who's the director of Adaptive Cloud for the Americas. Just before we get started, a couple more housekeeping points. We'll be taking questions throughout the webcast, so please add them to the question box. We'll also have an additional Q&A session at the end to get all your questions answered. And now just a couple points about D&H, and we'll turn it over to our speakers. Next slide here. So D&H, if you didn't already know, is a privately held company. 107 years in business, started off as a tire retreading company in 1918. And now we've transformed into a North American IT distribution company. We're 100% North American service. So what that means is all of our folks are in North America, and all customers get a dedicated rep or team. Our revenue surpassed $6 billion across US and Canada, growing at 3x the rate of our competitors in the last 10 years. And we're family owned. We pride ourselves on relationships and understanding the importance of trust and transparency. Specifically for D&H Canada, we're celebrating 17 years in business in Canada this year. We're headquartered in Mississauga, Ontario. We have 2 Canadian distribution centers, both brand new, one in Mississauga, Ontario, one in Surrey, BC. And that has increased our logistics footprint by 3x since 2022. We have a new integration and services center, about 4,000 square feet of dedicated space in Mississauga. Over 100 vendor partners, always expanding our line card. There are 150 plus Canadian resources dedicated to Canadian partners like yourself, and almost 2,000 employees in North America to support our business. Being a private company is what differentiates us in the market, and our primary stakeholders are sitting right here on this call. Our vendors and our team members and our partners. We're not governed by external shareholders, but rather by our commitment to build for growth. So that's a quick little pitch about D&H. I do have some slides here about the Lenovo promos that are going on right now. I won't go through them in detail because these are the same as what we had last quarter. But I'll just quickly mention them. If you haven't heard of them for some reason, please reach out, and Lisa and I will take you through them in greater detail offline. First one's up is the medallion match. If for some reason you're not yet a Lenovo partner, and you're a gold status partner, for example, with one of Lenovo's competitors, Lenovo will match that and provide you with gold status until the end of fiscal year. There's a mission acquisition program which provides you with additional discounts in addition to deal registration. There is a LEAP program, which is the sell and earn and learn program where you could earn points to redeem for goodies and gift cards. There is a storage promo for storage solutions, whether it's SAN storage, NASs, or even fiber channel switches. And there's also a promo going on right now for Premier support, which provides the ability for customers to call in directly to a tier 2 technician when they call into the support center, as opposed to calling into the call center and having to wait for a callback. Having said that, let's get started. I'll pass it on over to Pawan, who will take you through the hybrid cloud for a new era with Lenovo.
Thank you very much. Again, my name is Pawan Misra, and I'm a senior product manager at Lenovo. I handle all of North America for software-defined infrastructure, which is a fancy word for HCI, which is hyper-converged infrastructure, which is just another fancy word for basically virtualizing compute, storage, and networking within a box. So I do handle North America, which is the US and Canada, and then we jump into the deck. So a lot of companies are facing these basic 3 biggest challenges, and this is what we're hearing from our customers. We're hearing, flat or declining IT budgets. So everybody is being asked to do more with what they have, and so we do have the platforms that actually fulfill that need. This is not new. This has been around for a while in terms of the scarcity of skilled IT workers. Why is this happening? This is happening because the pace of innovation is outpacing the skills of the workers and how quickly workers can get trained. When you have large language models, you have AI, it's very, very tough to keep up with the pace of innovation. So this scarcity continues, and the only way you get around it is by having smart platforms, which Lenovo does have. And then the third piece here is sustainable targets and mandates. A lot of governments around the world do have sustainability targets. Everybody's starting to get concerned about their carbon footprint. And so what can we do? How can we consume the same amount of power and do more with what we are already consuming versus adding? Second thing is data center space for expansion, right? Are new lands being torn down for data center space, or can we have more dense systems, which Lenovo does have, to fulfill that need? I really like this slide. It looks busy, but let me make it very, very simple. So this slide is basically the left and the right side. The left side is basically you can take whatever hardware that you have, whether you have a 3-tier model, you can take that and consolidate it into a Think Agile box, which is hyper-converged. So it does have compute, storage, and network in the same box. It is reduced total cost of ownership. With Lenovo software, you have a simple single pane of glass management. And since you're consolidating, you will save money on power and cooling. And what you do with that savings, which is you're not really increasing your budgets, but what you're doing with those savings is that you come over on the right-hand side and our boxes are AI enabled, and you can then modernize and upgrade your infrastructure to accelerate your hybrid cloud adoption. So very, very simple. You can certainly use Lenovo to consolidate, but with the savings, you can again partner with Lenovo to modernize your infrastructure. What's our vision? It's very, very simple. We want to be a trusted partner for all of our customers in their hybrid cloud adoption. And what we offer is modern AI-enabled platforms that will accelerate all of your applications into a hybrid cloud topology. We deliver excellent customer experience, everything from the edge to the cloud. And as I progress in my slides, you will see that we have platforms in different personalities, different form factors. You have plenty of options depending on what you're looking for. So here's our portfolio for Think Agile. So we have HX, we have VX, we have MX. What does that mean? HX is our platform with Nutanix software. So if you have folks that are trained already on Acropolis or Nutanix's virtualized platforms, this would be the platform for you. We have Think Agile VX, which is our VMware based platform. We have Think Agile MX, which is our Microsoft based platform. So we do have very, very solid partners in terms of Nutanix, Broadcom now, which owns VMware, and Microsoft as well. And all of these platforms are available either from the edge or to the cloud, depending on what your needs are. We offer these in two different kinds of personalities here. So for VX and MX platforms, we offer a Think Agile integrated system. What does that mean? Everything in the blue dots that you see comes with the platform, depending on the licenses that you need. And if you want to buy our deployment services, you can certainly purchase those. So those are options, but everything else that you see comes already fully integrated into the platform. So this is really, really a great box. It's fully tested, it's fully certified. Single point of contact with Premier support, so you're not bouncing between different vendors. If anything happens, Lenovo is your first and only throat to choke on this one. And then we do have our deployment tools in terms of the VX Deployer and Loca. If you want our deployment services, we can certainly add those as an option. So that's an option that you do have. You could, if you are a DIY person, you can certainly have the ready node available for you, or as Microsoft calls it, a validated node. If you're looking at HX, which is Nutanix, then your option is going to be the integrated system. So these are the two flavors that we do offer. So what is Think Agile HX, right? What is the differentiation and why would you want that? So the first thing that I'm going to say here is it's an all-in-one hybrid cloud solution. So it has a broad set of configurations and options to support all kinds of use cases and a lot of your workloads already. Lenovo is going to be your one-stop shop for all of the hardware, software, and services with a single point of contact if you have anything in terms of support. We do offer this in both CapEx and OpEx. And what that means is that you can either capitalize the cost of the hardware if you want to buy the hardware and own it, or if you want to go to an OpEx model where you're basically using it as a utility, then Lenovo has something called TrueScale, and you can certainly use that model to consume the hardware. We have platforms in all form factors, from the edge to the cloud, and they're all AI enabled. In terms of the differentiation, we do offer 16x NVMe drives with the AMD Genoa CPU chipset. And we're also the only vendor with a storage-heavy configuration. And so when you start to look at all of these options that we offer, I'd hope that you take a closer look at Think Agile HX if your crew and your staff within your company is already familiar with Acropolis virtualization and is familiar with Nutanix. So this is our portfolio, and as I mentioned before, we're going all the way from edge to robo to data center. And so when we look at the platforms, if there's a 0 at the end, it's an Intel-based platform. If it's 5 at the end, it's an AMD-based platform. You can certainly pick and choose. As I mentioned, Lenovo has plenty of options. On the left-hand side, you can see some of our partners. If you're interested in backup, recovery, DR, mirroring, we do partner with the best in the class companies, and so we can certainly offer those services on these platforms as well. This is a brief that I'd love everybody to read. So one thing that I'll mention here is that 50% of the data will be generated at the edge. And so when we think about that, why is that happening, right? IoT, the internet, and all of the devices and all of the sensors that we've heard about for over a decade, those sensors have become smarter. Edge devices have become smarter. When you take an example of, say, an automotive company like Tesla, every Tesla is an edge device. It is gathering data, it is processing data. It doesn't have to contact the data center in order to do self-driving or full driving control. And so what we are noticing within the industry is that 50% of the data that will be generated in the future is going to be generated at the edge. 75% of that data is being analyzed and acted upon at the edge. That's huge. That's a big shift. And I think we all have to come to terms with what is happening is that edge devices need to get smarter. They're already processing data at the edge. And what they're sending to the data center anymore is they're not asking for permission. What they're sending to the data center is, here are the trends, so that the data center folks can make those strategic decisions, but the op decisions are already happening at the edge with the edge devices. So what does Lenovo have to offer in terms of that? So we're going to look at an edge device. One of the things that I did want to bring up in terms of AI is that on the HX platform, we offer GPT in a box. So what does that mean? That means that if, and you know, everybody knows ChatGPT became so famous, and we keep asking it questions and we keep conversing with it. But here's the danger, right? With a company, are you going to put your proprietary data into ChatGPT so that it can answer your corporate questions? And I think the answer to that is no. You're not going to do that. So what does Lenovo offer? On our Think Agile, we offer a similar experience with GPT in a box. We have partnered with Nutanix to offer this functionality. We have a validated design that Lenovo uses internally. And so what we can offer is that you have your corporate data. There are already LLMs, large language models, that you can already use within the library, and you can pick and select. You don't have to have your own large language model. You can upload your corporate data. It goes into a vector database, and it can start to answer questions about your company, your products for your employees. And that data is residing on a Think Agile HX box, so it never leaves your company. And so this is a very, very powerful solution, which you can certainly leverage. Everything in purple is what Nutanix provides. Everything in gray is what is open source, and Lenovo can certainly help with that. If you have the expertise, you can build this model. If you don't have the expertise, please leverage Lenovo's professional services, and we can certainly help you build this very, very quickly. We have this working in-house. We're more than happy to put a demo in place for you and show you how we have this working. So certainly, please reach out to your sales reps so that they can contact us and we can set up this demo for you. But this is a really, really powerful on-prem solution to have GPT in a box kind of functionality in-house. This is another brief. I love to give homework. I love that. So this is another solution brief about all of the AI-ready solutions with Think Agile HX. So these are, again, tested and validated Think Agile HX solutions, obviously using Nutanix cloud platform on GPU-enabled systems. And so I would highly encourage you to use that QR code. If you're traveling, have the slide deck there. Certainly read about this because we do have a lot of these AI-ready solutions ready to go that'll meet your demands and what you need to move your business forward. I promised I'm going to talk about an Edge platform, so let's talk about the HX360 V2 Edge. Again, this is zero-touch deployment with uninterrupted updates. What I've heard from a lot of customers is when you have the older Edge platforms, you have to babysit them. And remember, what is the one big thing about Edge? There's a lot of them. And so when you're talking about Edge and you have to then babysit platforms, now you're talking about maybe hundreds or maybe thousands of those around if you're a large enterprise retail company in a robo configuration. So these are uninterrupted updates. You can manage unlimited Edge nodes remotely. So this is really, really powerful. So it's designed for up to 2,000 Edge clusters per pod with an unlimited number of pods. Not many companies can actually talk about unlimited management. We're putting our credibility here and saying that you can do that with this platform. Again, AI from edge to cloud and high availability and also backup back into the cloud, as we discussed with the partners that we already have, like Veeam and others. So you can certainly have that option to back up in the cloud. I did want to spend a little bit of time on the three platforms. So we talked about HX with Nutanix. I do want to talk about our Microsoft offering on the MX platform. So again, with Microsoft, we're talking about Think Agile MX. These are AI optimized solutions. They offer Premier support from Microsoft. What Premier support means is that you have one throat to choke. You're not going to bounce between different vendors when an issue or if an issue actually shows up. Lenovo is going to be your level 1 and level 2 vendor that you will contact for both hardware and software issues. We have a variety of form factors from edge to cloud, and we do have a very, very strong partnership with Microsoft. And so we're going to, in the next couple of slides, we're going to look at where does Lenovo come in terms of automation, how do you set up your infrastructure, and then how do you use the Azure portal to be able to add this to your infrastructure already existing, or you can create new clusters. We're also going to have Alan from Microsoft, who is going to take you into a little bit more detail on what we used to call as Azure Stack HCI, and now it's called Azure Local. So that's coming. Again, this is something for your reference. These are all of the platforms that we do offer, again, from edge to cloud. So Lenovo has all of the platforms in terms of different form factors for your needs, depending on what you really want to accomplish based on your requirements and your workloads. So I did want to talk about Premier a little bit. So Premier is a single point of support, and this means both L1 and L2 for hardware and software. There is an ease of management and deployment using something called LOCA, which is Lenovo's open cloud automation software. All updates are done through Azure portal. And depending on the cadence that you want for updates in terms of patches, fixes, and feature functionality, you can certainly define those. But it does really help in terms of keeping your platform up to date as features come out and as patches and bug fixes come out. When we look at this slide, maybe it looks a little confusing, but let me start to decompose this slide. So let's start from the left-hand side. All of that is taken care of by Lenovo, and that's all automation. That's all LOCA automation. So, and it comes with Premier support. So what does that mean? It means that we will install all of the Azure local operating systems already installed. We will set up all of the configurations. We will install Azure local. We'll join it to the cloud. We will register it with something called Azure Arc. And once it's registered in Azure Arc, then you can use the Azure portal to create clusters. Very, very simple steps. All you need to be involved in, and Azure Arc is going to take you through all of this. A lot of that is automated. Is you have to define, obviously, the networking, the firewall, the AD domains to join, and the hardware checker. So those are the few things that obviously you have to define. But once you have that, then a lot of that is already automated through Azure Arc. Let's talk about the Azure local hybrid SKU that Lenovo already offers. So what does this mean? So this means is how can Lenovo save you money? So if you're ordering this through the MX platform, then all this can come as an upfront perpetual license price versus paying a subscription model if you are already paying the Azure subscription cost. This is significant. It's almost 1/3 the cost. And so this is, again, offered both as OPEX or it is also offered as CapEx. So you can get the price savings up front through Lenovo, or you can get this as a monthly price through our TrueScale platform. So this slide is all about licensing and what Lenovo offers. It is offered in a SKU. And again, contact your salespeople so that they can build this into the quote for you. It is offered in DCSC, and it is certainly available today for you to offer in terms of doing a perpetual license model versus a subscription. It'll significantly save you a lot of money. So Azure Local and AVD. So this is the offering for basically a virtualized desktop interface, so VDI, but you're running it on-prem. And so this is available on the MX platforms. It is a flexible offering that would enable local elasticity. What do I mean by local elasticity? What I mean is that your person who is actually provisioning the storage, the compute, the network, they know when your bursty applications are going to happen. They understand your sales cycle, so they can certainly tweak it locally, but it's available globally, right? This is, again, a hybrid cloud environment, and you can certainly host all of these virtualized desktops locally, but you can make them available globally. So this is another great advantage that you do have with MX, is that if you're already in the public cloud with Azure, then this works very, very well for you as a solution where you can keep certain things on-prem and you can keep your virtualized desktops on-prem, and then still leverage the public cloud. A little bit about VX. So this is Lenovo's VX platforms that offer VMware functionality, VMware software. We do have customers who are tied to VMware. So when we talk about VCF, which is VMware Cloud Foundation, we're really talking about a piece of software that's a cloud-like design. Again, this is all on-prem, but it looks like the cloud. What does that mean? These are standardized, pre-validated engineering solutions with VMware software on them. The stack is defined for what a data center would certainly need. I'm going to talk about the two flavors that Broadcom now offers through our VX platforms. And you're going to see the different functionality. So it's no longer that you can buy pieces of VMware. What Broadcom has done is they're offering basically two bundles, and based on your needs and your workloads, you're going to pick one or the other. You might buy more software than you need, but these are the bundles that are available through Broadcom in terms of on the VX platform. So what do you have, or what do we have available? So we have VCF, which is VMware Cloud Foundation. We have VVF, which is VMware vSphere Foundation. If you look at the two bundles and you kind of look at the left-hand side, when you're talking about the management software, both do have vSphere. Both do have vCenter in terms of management. There are certain pieces of software and functionality that are different between VCF and VVF, but this is a good reference slide for you to look at to ensure that our customers understand what is available and what they need in terms of which package they want, especially if they're continuing to work with VMware and all of their applications are on the VMware cloud. So Lenovo does have this offering for our customers who certainly want to remain on VMware. We just want to make sure that everybody is educated on what the current offerings are. Again, this is a very similar slide. Now you've already seen two of these. This is a very, very similar slide, again, on the VX platforms. What is available for VX? Again, we have all of the platforms, all form factors, from edge all the way to data center. So you really have the options to pick and choose based on what your needs and your workloads are. I did want to touch on something called xClarity. If you're not available or you're not familiar with xClarity, so xClarity is Lenovo's software for management of all of this infrastructure. Single pane of glass, policy-based management. So you can define firmware level policies in terms of ongoing maintenance, ongoing management. You're getting real-time monitoring out of the tool. And in terms of installation for the OS, it's all automated. So really, really good tool that you're getting from Lenovo in terms of managing the infrastructure. It's called xClarity, and you're getting that with it.
Hey, Pawan, just a quick time check. 2 minutes. I want to make sure we got enough time for Alan as well, please. Thank you.
Yep. I'll be done in maybe 2.5 minutes. Okay. So the next two slides are basically reading material. So VMware Cloud Foundation, this is the deployment guide. You can QR code this. We just wanted to put this in here so that you could have access to it. This one is the reference architecture. Again, this is QR code, good reading material. This is basically a slide that shows where is Think Agile. Think Agile is in a lot of the industry verticals. I wanted to put this slide here. So whatever vertical your customer is, Think Agile is probably already there and has already solved a similar problem. So certainly reach out to us, but I did want to make sure that this slide is available. I wanted to talk about some use cases here. This is T-Systems. This is part of their security division. They use Think Agile VX. This is a real customer. and we actually help them to scale and also their deployment speed with their customers. Toyota, everybody knows this company. I don't have to talk about it. This is a company that we helped with their VDI. Right after COVID, they had some issues in terms of running CAD software on desktops, which were within the company. We helped them with an HCI solution. We used Think Agile HX. So we used the Lenovo Nutanix HX platform for this one. This was an MSP company. We used Think Agile MX as the platform. And again, the goal here was performance, high availability, and quick scaling. And this is a company, C3 Group. They're based out of Australia. And this is a real use case where we used MX. More than happy to go into any of these in detail, but in the interest of time, I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that for every single platform, we have very, very large deals where we have used, and they're very, very happy with the product. Last slide I'm going to show here is this is a cheat sheet. I'm not going to go through this slide, but it's a cheat sheet for you. If you're talking about VMware, Nutanix, or Microsoft, or anything Linux-based, on the left-hand side is what the customers are actually looking for, and basically the chart populates what the vendors do have in terms of the software. So it's an easy cheat sheet when you're talking to your customers. With that, I think I'm done, and I can hand it off to Alan. Thank you for your time, and I certainly appreciate everybody's attention here. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. So Alan Kerr with Microsoft. I'm going to talk a little bit about the direction Microsoft's going. What are the options for getting off VMware? That's the hot topic of today. I became one of the most popular people on the planet about a year ago when the acquisition happened. As far as I can tell, almost everyone is effectively getting off VMware. Gartner came out and said, look, if it's expensive to get off today, it's more expensive if you get off later. So we're going to kind of blow through this, but the idea is, once again, to sort of inform you on the direction Microsoft's going, and that way it can kind of help your thinking when you're thinking about this. And one of the things that we talk about is this need for a hybrid sort of plus approach. And so we've got these scenarios that are enduring that will basically always require on-prem solutions, number one. Number two is, as already previously mentioned, the amount of data at the edge is growing. And so it's a matter of delivering the capability, the data protection, and the analytics at the edge wherever the customer is generating that data. So this is where we come up with this idea of sort of Azure Anywhere. And so our adaptive cloud approach means we tore down the walls between all the different silos. So there's no longer like an IoT division, an edge division, a distributed compute division, so on and so forth. It's basically one thing under the adaptive cloud. And so we have a unified global to local infrastructure, right? So we've got Azure, which some people, if anyone has an Office or Microsoft 365 account, you already have an Azure account. And so it's extending all of that to anywhere you need it using the centralized management and security, which is AI enhanced, rapidly able to deploy via templates, whether it's VMs or applications that you need anywhere, as well as tearing down the barriers between the siloing data, especially when you're talking about that data at the edge. And so one of the things that's happened is that, yes, we're generating a lot of data at the edge. Sometimes we process that at the edge. Sometimes we send it back to the cloud to process. And so when we think about the hybrid cloud and think about how that's built, the simple way of thinking about this is the edge is everything outside the public cloud. So we have the public cloud, right? In this case, it's Azure. And then we have these sort of data centers, co-location facilities, edge, offices, IoT, and industrial edge and manufacturing floors. And that's just edge, far edge, and operational edge, right? So we kind of treat it the same way. And so the same virtual machines, containers, and Azure services that we run in the public cloud, we run everywhere. We can run them in data centers. We can run them on the factory floors, wherever the customer needs it. And so if we think about this and we have a, we get out a map and we dot on that map all of the Microsoft data centers, that's really where you have your public cloud, our sovereign clouds, US Gov, US Secret, Canadian Gov, those kind of things, and our industry clouds, manufacturing, retail, finance, so on and so forth. But if you look at all the rest of that space on that map, right, I've got a few red dots on that map where the Microsoft data centers are. That's where Azure Local goes. It literally goes anywhere that's not in a Microsoft data center, which gives you a uniform compute fabric, management tools, security, programming, and orchestration identity across the global infrastructure all the way out to that operational edge. And so there's a quote from Gartner here, right? When we talk about our sort of Azure Local powered by Lenovo, we're the only consistent, comprehensive hybrid cloud. We heard a bunch of people, even on this call, throw around the word hybrid. We basically view hybrid cloud as being able to take those, services in the public cloud and deliver them anywhere, not just rebuy your licenses in the public cloud and all of a sudden you're now a air finger quotes hybrid model. And so it's a true public cloud, a true hybrid model whereby we create a one-to-one relationship between what we're doing on the public cloud and what we're doing on-prem. So for example, PaaS services, you could actually have an Azure managed version of SQL on-prem where we manage the security and the updates for you, and you just get a connection string. So it looks exactly like it does in Azure. Same thing with our Active Directory identity and our security as well. What is Azure Local? It's a bare metal OS, right? It's designed to do two things. It runs containers and virtual machines as fast and securely as possible. Now, I don't talk that much about data centers and co-location facilities because it's easy. However many nodes you have today, I can do, this with the same or less nodes that you have right now. But we also run it in autonomous cars and trucks and ferries and cruise liners and deep sea oil rigs and cell phone towers and restaurants and even satellites. And to give you an example of the flexibility of the platform, this is actually an Azure Edge node that in the United States is run by both FEMA as well as the Border Patrol. And it's used to get the data collection and analytics and things like AI for object detection out to wherever they need it, when they're running infrared sensors and drones and that kind of stuff. So we already kind of talked about this a little bit with the hyperconverged. It is collapsing software-defined networking, compute, and storage into a single box, right? And so basically, if this was a VMware equivalent, it would be NSX, ESX, vSAN, and SRM, all into a single box with a single license. A single unified license does all of that. So they're on the other guy's side, they're bundling all those things together. This is, or it is and always has been just a single thing. We then take that box and we connect it up to the cloud. And that's how we manage it. So once again, Azure Local is actually a new name. It's subsumed part of Azure Stack HCI became part of it, or part of what Azure Local is. And so we got out-of-the-box cloud-based operations. So if you think about it, I can just now manage all of my servers just from a web page, right? So this is great for MSPs, great for customers. It does those virtual machines and container-based apps. I know a lot of people actually aren't using container-based apps, but what we're seeing is vendors creating container-based apps, and that's how they want to deliver the apps to their customers. And so we're seeing more and more of that. But obviously, it's very heavy VMs is what's out there. Right-size solution, there's a big hardware catalog. You can pick your favorite hardware to go with it, and also we turn on the security. One of the big things to note is that the code base for this is the same as Azure. The Azure code base is the same code base in Azure Local. That's the same code base in Windows 2025, which means it's the same virtualization platform, the same container platform, same networking platform, same storage platform. So it's a very mature product that's been around for quite some time, right? It's just the name that's new. Why would you choose Azure Local? Well, if I'm running my VMs for Windows 2022 or 2025, I can now apply hot patching for all the security fixes for free on the fly. So I don't have to reboot that. So you got a big uptime play there, especially for your MSP type people. AVD, right? I can get rid of Citrix and Horizons. This is a big play for people getting off VMware. They also want off Citrix and Horizon. And also if you're running old workloads, so if I have, for example, Windows 2012 and this year will be Windows 2016, if I put those workloads in this environment, I get those security updates for free. Why is that important? If you have a cyber attack and you have cyber insurance, They will not pay out if they find a single unpatched device, VM, anything in your environment. So that's why that's important, getting that for free. If Windows 2025, why would I use that? Reusing some old hardware, I have an external storage requirement, or today disconnected, which is coming out in early 2025, will be have permanent disconnected capabilities. The obligatory marketing slide, we're on the top right. One of the things that's interesting is this is actually with our old version. This is not Azure Local. We actually anticipate later this year when they come out with the new version, we'll actually be much further ahead. Similar to if you look at us on the virtual desktop side, we'll be much further ahead because we'll be they'll be looking at our Azure Local product. Once again, Azure Stack HCI, if you'd heard of that, is actually now the connected servers version of Azure Local. So we have these, in the catalog, we're going to be coming out with these ultra low spec, low cost edge servers, these tiny ones. We've got people putting those in the back of digital billboards. We got people want to put them in every charging station pump, for want of a better word, whereby they could fail over to the individual pump versus to the site. Lots of those type of, interesting scenarios, people putting them in kiosks. We've got the disconnected operations, whereby, if it's never going to see the light of day, it has to be offline permanently for managing, mission critical systems or something. As well as, that's not on this slide, we're going to have what we call rack scale, whereby we could go up to hundreds of nodes in a single cluster. And so this can be right fit for any single scenario you're doing, whether it's a tiny customer or a massive customer. I can go a tiny individual server all the way up to hundreds of servers in a single cluster. Once again, it's really this idea that I'm able to take this foundational services and drop onto it any data service and any app service I want, and then get, the cloud management, cloud security, all those other things that you can't do on-prem. We're enabling that on-prem, right? And so this is going to be a big a boost for customers who want to sort of step up their security and step up their identity management and step up their, sort of control as well as support. Once again, it's easier to support when I can centralize all these things. There is a hardware solutions catalog that's up here. You can click on it. You can go look at all the different Lenovo options out there. This was kind of already covered, but there's really three options. The validated node, which is basically just the 10, is the box itself. You download the OS from us. Then you get integrated systems and Premier solutions. That's when you start getting joint support and you get those joint capabilities for update, whereby I can update all the server, the software, the hardware, everything in one single shot. I did mention this, and it was kind of mentioned before in the previous presentation, was the Azure Virtual Desktop. For anyone looking at VDI, Azure Local is the only way I can get multi-session Windows 10 and Windows 11 desktops. And so if I have customers that need to do any kind of GPU pooling or have any kind of like VDI operations, this is a great sort of path for that. And once again, it's all on-prem, so it's right next to where their applications are. And so we've got people doing this in hospitals with medical imaging and all that kind of stuff. And so we're seeing a big trend towards this. A component of this is called Azure Arc. Azure Arc you can install on individual servers in any of the platforms that have been mentioned so far. But what it really enables you to do is sort of on any infrastructure is project that up into the cloud so I can manage it from a single pane of glass, and then take services and drop them on-prem. So onto Azure Local, I could drop, web apps or SQL, or I could just even push templates for machines if that's the way I wanted to manage it. And so you've got this, once again, any platform with a single control pane, and then you can start using Azure Monitor and a lot of these other components, as well as if you're, like I said, if you're an MSP, you can push very heavily on the automation components of this, which is something everyone likes, infrastructure as code. When we talk about options for VMware, every customer, as far as I can tell, wants to get off VMware. We've provided a few different options. If the workload is going to the cloud, it's fairly simple. It's AVS if they need to get off quick, but you can just copy it up. That's actually us running VMware in Azure. Or if they want to re-platform Azure native, I see that as that's option one. If they're staying on-prem, which is what most people do, you've got Azure Stack or Azure Local, and then you got Windows 2025, and we've already talked about the differences of why you would do one versus the other. Most people are picking Azure Local today. We do have a sort of the easy button migration tool, so we have a thing called Azure Migrate, So I can actually migrate from vSphere to Azure Local. And this is a free tool that's available for you to migrate your workloads over. And what it does is when it migrates those workloads, it mounts them up into the cloud. So you can manage all those new workloads sort of out of the box with cloud management without having to do any additional kind of work. We already sort of covered the licensing. One of the big ones is the perpetual licensing. Everyone else got out of the perpetual game and got into subscriptions. You can still get a subscription for this, or you can actually buy the license from Lenovo and run that for as long as you have the box. So this is actually a direction that people are going fairly solidly. Let's talk about a couple of options here for deployment scenarios and trends. If this gets disconnected from the cloud, it'll operate quite happily for 30 days. It doesn't need to be reconnected. After 30 days, everything still runs. It's just a matter of reconnecting up, and then you can start deploying things again. So once again, everything still seems to run after the 30 days. But this is great for anyone, like a state local government does this a lot in case of disasters. If they're disconnected for a while, they can still run the city operations. We also have permanent disconnect options. Once again, mainly for my friends that have 3-letter agencies in their names, or one of my other customers that has a lot of boats for the government and they go underwater for 6 months at a time. That's where we're using these disconnected operations. Another trend we're seeing is that we used to see this trend smaller and smaller edge, but because of, as already mentioned, the amount of data we're generating at the edge, we're now seeing these heavy edge options, especially in retail, when we're now coming into situations whereby, because of organized crime targeting retail operations, we're now doing a lot more object detection for loss prevention in retail. The other interesting trend we're seeing is the combination in manufacturing of IT side and OT side into a single stack. And so where you can manage everything, but what they really want, and we're seeing this more in finance, manufacturing, anywhere you've got severe like intellectual property, is we're coming out with the ability, and once again, this is a hybrid cloud option that no one else will be able to do, is take our confidential compute modules from Azure and run them on-prem. Why is that important? I can now protect my own workloads from my own admins, whether they've been compromised or not. They may not even know they've been compromised. And so if their credentials are stolen or whatever, because they know that they're admins, we can protect against intellectual property loss by using confidential computers. And so it really comes down to having this idea that, it's just cloud wherever you need it, right? And so we know the innovation happens fastest in the cloud. And what we're enabling you is to just turn that on at the edge when you need it. I've got customers that have nothing in the cloud, right? And they just run this on-prem because they prefer the management and all the other capabilities that the Azure local gives you. And so, Adrian, I'm going to throw it back to you, and I think I've reclaimed our time to get that 5-minute quick Q&A in.
That was perfect, man. Thank you so much, Alan. We actually did have a couple of questions during your presentation towards the very end there. First question was, is there a similar tool for Citrix? I believe this came up when you were talking about the VDI or the VMware portion.
Is there a similar tool for Citrix? What do you mean by tool, I guess, is the question.
I think you were talking about the migration, if I understand the question correctly.
Oh, for Azure Migrate?
Yeah.
For the migrating from VMware to no, not as far as I'm aware, right? So if the source is either Hyper-V or VMware, it'll migrate across. If it's another platform, then that's not we don't have that tool natively.
Okay, yeah, and he confirmed that was the question. Perfect. Second question was, how does the licensing work if we're presently doing SPLA plus VMware, moving to Azure local, small IaaS deployment at a colo housing customer VMs?
So there's a multi-tenancy is not a thing today. Multi-tenancy is a thing that's coming, which is typically where that comes in. However, in digging into it, depending on what the design is, that may not even be required, which is also why it's a pretty far down the list of things that as we were putting this together, that wasn't sort of a top priority because for most people it wasn't a requirement. So I would, in that particular case, you can sort of do similar things with role-based access control and some of these other options. Depending on what the design is you can achieve similar things with it today. And then if you want true multi-tenancy, that's a feature that's coming.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Alan. Anybody else has any questions, please post your question to the Q&A. I'm just going to change a couple of slides really quickly while I wrap up here. So thank you, Alan and Pawan, for taking us through, well, first of all, the Think Agile portfolio and an overview of Hyper-V/Azure Local as an alternative to VMware. Pawan covered the Think Agile portfolio, including HX, which runs Nutanix Acropolis, and also the MX series, which runs Microsoft Azure Local / Hyper-V, both of which are very viable alternatives to VMware. Alan took us through how Hyper-V blends into Azure Local and how we can have Azure on-prem as an alternative to VMware as well. So hopefully that got some of your brain juices flowing in terms of identifying opportunities with your customers looking to get off of VMware and how Lenovo can help in that journey. We covered a lot of content today, so if you'd like to take a deeper dive into anything we talked about, please reach out to me. And we can set up a dedicated briefing with you and your customer. I put this slide up because the Lenovo Canada ISG at D&H emails in the upper right-hand corner for you, for your reference to reach out. You will also get a link to the webcast on demand for you, or if any of your teammates who couldn't make the call today and wanted to review the webinar. You can also download the presentation as a PDF on your screen under the resources module. To see some of the slides that we skipped through due to time. One question just came up.
Yep, Adrian has this going to say. Yeah, go for it, Adrian.
What is the best scenario to set up Azure AVD for a customer with high latency internet?
Well, I'd need to see the network design as to where you'd put it, but typically you want AVD, the stack closest to where the application is, because the client, the RDP client, is very latency tolerant. So you could run it over the network and it would be fine, but you wouldn't want the data crossing the high latency thing, just sort of the screen capture stuff. And part of the reason it works well is you're using UDP and not TCP, which is better for highly latent environments.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions? We'll just give it a quick 30 seconds for folks to post their questions. While we wait for that, I'm just going to put up my last slide here. I forgot to bring this up in the beginning. In terms of our next events, if you want to reach out and let me know what you want to hear about next. If I don't hear, if there's no a lot of pushback or a lot of ask for something else, we're probably going to cover storage solutions by Lenovo. But before that, next month, we're going to hold a sales certification training at Lenovo Canada headquarters in Markham, where we will go through the training material for the Lenovo data center sales certification. And after that, we'll do the exam. You'll get a free voucher to write the exam right after we do the training, and hopefully pass the exam on the same day. So this certification will count towards your tier level requirements, and this is happening on March 25th from 9 a.m. to about 1 or 2 p.m. And again, it's happening at Lenovo headquarters in Markham. So please sign up for that as soon as possible. We need to figure out how many lunches to buy and vouchers to buy, that kind of stuff, right? So I don't see any other questions. So you will get a link to, I think I mentioned this, to this webinar to review. You also get a survey link, which please let us know what you think, how much you love this, how much you didn't like it, what else you want to hear about. And I'll try my best to make it happen. With that said,
I'm just going to come off mute for a hot second, Adrian. Yeah. Sorry. Sanjay's asking, when is the link? The link is coming when it's live, Sanjay. So just stay tuned. You will see it in your inbox.
Yeah, I just saw the email template.
We were
today,
working
so.
on it throughout this thing, so don't worry, Sanjay, you'll see it.
Okay, with that said, no more questions. I'll see you guys at the next webinar or at the certification training. Thank you very much for joining. I'll see you next time.